Hello, my name is Marina McMahon and I'm CEO of Derelict Credit Union, and joining me today is Donald, who works with the Vacant Properties team with Clare County Council, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the Vacant Properties grants and what's available to our members. So just firstly, I suppose, Donald, thank you very much for joining us and joining us in office today. So if you just want to take us through, I suppose, what makes a property eligible for a vacant property grant? How long must it be vacant? Is there a particular build year, or what are the conditions?
So the house must be vacant for 2 more years at the time of application, and it must be built prior to 2008.
Okay.
So in terms of what we look for as proof of vacancy, it's generally electricity bills or an email from ESB networks confirming a low pattern usage. Now, some people are concerned that the property, if there's some electricity usage, that it won't be eligible. That's not the case. So it has to be low usage. So we will make a judgment on that when we get the bills. But generally, if the lights are on, if the heating is running, it's oil heating, that'll qualify. There won't be an issue.
You just mentioned ownership there, so you do need to own the property outright.
You need to either own it or be in the process of having it put into your name.
Okay.
So once we have evidence that an application has been made to land registry to have the property registered in your name, that's enough to get up and running. And it needs to be in your name by the end of the works. So it's 13 months. So if you get approved, there's 13 months to complete the works. It should be plenty of time to get the property into your name for that stage.
Very good, very good. And does the person have to live in the property, or can they plan to rent it out?
So they can do either. So they can live be a principal private residence, or they can rent it out. It has to be lived in or rented for a period of 10 years after the grant payments. If their circumstances change during the course of the grant, so they buy a house and move into it, have a refurb of the grants, and the circumstances change, they can rent it out for the balance of the period, and that's allowed for under the scheme. They just need to let us know. A rented property must be registered with the Residential Tenancies Board. It must be a formal tenancy, Airbnb and stuff like that isn't allowed.
Okay.
But they just need to let us know what follow the terms and conditions for rental development.
Very good. Good to know. So what grants, I suppose, are currently available for vacant properties and refurbishment?
So there's two aspects to the grant. The vacant property grant is up to max €50,000 if the property is derelict, and for our grant that means structurally unsound or dangerous. There's an additional €20,000 top up to that. So to get that, it must either be on the derelict sites register, or they have an independent report from a structural engineer, an architect, or a surveyor clarifying that it is structurally unsound or dangerous.
Okay.
What works needed to remedy that. We'll assess that when we come out and do our technical visit.
Very good. Is there a checklist of documents even that people can kind of look up and see, well, what am I going to need to start this process?
Yeah, so on our website there's a checklist, or you can contact us at vacanthomes@clarecoco.ie. We will send out the checklist. Essentially, it's the proof of vacancy, proof of ownership, a quotation for the works. And the other one thing I'd mention is planning permission. So if you're going to do any works that require planning permission, we'd advise you to have those in place before you come into us, to avoid any delays in processing your grant application. So some of them, I suppose, if it's a rural property that hasn't been lived in for a while, it may need a new wastewater treatment system. And if that wasn't granted on the planning permission, then it's not a runner for the project. So there's no point in approaching us, I suppose. But so it's generally it's easier to have the planning permission organised before you come to us.
Very good, very good. And what types of works or refurbishments are covered by the grant?
So practically everything is covered by the grant. So new heating system, new windows, new doors, repairs to roofs, extensions are allowed for under the grant. We won't pay for the physical costs of the extension, but you are allowed to extend the property. Quite a lot of properties are very old, they're very small, and they're not really habitable for modern living without an extension. And that's allowed for under the grant. We don't have any objection to that. We just need to know that if they require planning permission, if they have it in place, and if they don't, just send us a set of drawings so we can just clarify that for them. So practically everything. Some of the things that mightn't be covered are the septic tank itself aren't covered.
Okay.
Landscaping isn't covered. So the footpaths around the house and drainage, they are. Landscaping is be covered. Okay. Practically everything else is covered.
Good to know. And then I suppose you mentioned a technical inspection, at the start of the works. What verifications are carried out, I suppose, at the start and particularly at the end and before the grant would be issued?
Before the work starts, once we have all the documentation, our technical inspector comes out to make sure that works have been started. So we'd say, don't start any works until our technical inspector comes out, because they won't be eligible for grant funding. Once he comes out and he's happy with that the works are necessary, etc., you're good to go practically at that point. The formal approval will follow within a couple of weeks. At the end of works then, so there's no interim inspections unless there's an issue identified at the end of the work's done prior to the grant being paid out, final technical inspection takes place, and that's just to verify that the works have been carried out and they match the invoices received, and that everything is done in compliance with planning permission that was granted, or if anything that was done that didn't have planning permission, you might have to go in the retention planning application just at that point. So,
I suppose just is there a percent, like 100% of the works would have to be completed before the grant is paid out, or is there kind of that if you're
it depends on the use of the property. So
okay.
If it's a private residence, it has to be habitable, so it has to have a functioning heating system. You have to be able to cook there, you have to be able to sleep there, but not everything would have to be painted, for example.
Okay.
Landscaping would have to be done. If it's a rented property, it has to be fully completed, so
okay.
somebody has to be able to move in. And what we'd say as well is at the end of the works when we come out, it either has to be lived in by the applicants or the tenant has to be in situ.
Okay.
So it has to have got to that stage.
Yeah.
Works when we come off for the last inspection.
And I suppose this probably ties together a little bit with, there's conditions, of course, and what clawbacks may apply if the property is sold or it doesn't meet the residency requirements.
So there is a clawback. So if the property is sold in the first 5 years, 100% of the grant must be paid back. If it's sold in years 5 and 10, 75% of the grant will be clawed back. It is intended for long-term use by the applicant or for rental. Let's say if the circumstances change, they can let us know and we can fit that into the scheme. But if it's sold, there is the clawback. We'd hope never to use that, unfortunately. So if they don't comply with the terms and conditions, so it's Airbnb, we will contact them and advise them they have to adhere to that, or we can impose charge at that point.
Is there anything else you want to?
Oh, I would say it's a great opportunity for people to avail of what is a significant amount of money to bring their property back into use. If they have any queries or questions, they can contact us at vacanthomes@clearcoco.ie or give us a ring across the number that pushes through. We're there to help people. We're there to make sure as many grants as possible are available to help bring properties back into use.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the